What's that one thing you thought everybody did, but it turns out only you do? Call their grandfather Grandbob. His name is Bob. I used to ask everyone in school, do you have a grandma or grandbob? Have water gun fights on Easter. I thought all families celebrated Easter that way, but it turns out only mine does. It all started when my mom would wake up my older siblings with a squirt gun before handing them Easter baskets, and they ended up saving their money to buy guns for themselves. Long story short, 20 plus years later my family still goes all out and gets super soakers for everyone, and I've never known anything else. It's actually a tradition in Poland. We do water fights on Easter Mondays. I regularly shower in the dark. I told some friends this and they looked at me like I was crazy. I thought surely other people enjoyed it too. Weird thing is I am terrified of the dark in every other situation. Not my story, but I guess it's count. My friend told me that she thought bananas, maybe another fruit, I don't really remember, are spicy. Turned out she just was allergic to them. Dude, this tomato is spicy as frick. UHH. That's actually a habanero. Cry when I poo. I thought everyone did this, only realized it was just me when I started living with a roommate in university. I came out of the bathroom with a wet face, as is tradition, and she looked very concerned and asked if I was okay. I nonchalantly replied, oh, no, I just pooed, that's all, thinking that would explain everything. But it did not. And no, it doesn't hurt. It's just some weird nerve connection that makes the tears flow when the poo flows. Yours is my favorite. I can give myself goosebumps by what feels like flexing my neck shoulders. I thought this was a common trait up until recently. Haven't found anyone else that can do it yet, and that the expression gave me goosebumps was stupid. I did this when I was like 11 years old. Don't bully me about this, lol. I slept with 3 pillows. Why? Well, I had one between my legs, one in my arms, and one that I put my head on. I don't know why, but I always thought my kindergarten friends did this. When I woke up, then the 3 pillows were always on the ground for some reason. I told it to my friends at kindergarten and they thought I was so weird. It was probably good for your spine, and if you grow up to have wide hips and sleep on your side, it will be good for your spine again. A pillow between my knees sometimes helps with not hurting my back from contorting. Count the number of chews on each side of my mouth to make sure they're even. I really thought this wasn't that weird until I brought it up and everyone was like, UHH. I used to do something similar but with my feet when I was little. When I started walking after stopping or sitting, I always would try to step with the opposite foot that I ended on so both legs would get equal use. Daydreaming constantly, and to the point I feel like I'm not even in my own body anymore and it feels like my mind is slipping away from me. Me too. I feel like I sometimes go over memories and replace them with my own imagination of what happened. Now it's really hard for me to tell if it's memory or imagination, and it's super frustrating. Ear rumble. Apparently it's caused by a trait that allows you to have manual control over your tensor tympani, and only a fraction of the population can do it. Ari rumblus assemble. Woo. Not alone. I've never met anyone who can rumble. I thought that everyone liked the smell of freshly turned on air conditioners. I am yet to find someone else that likes this smell. Well, I do have it more covered on my post on r/1 in a million, but I have the rarest type of synesthesia called lexical gustatory, which means I basically taste words. Also, the same words with different accents taste differently. For example, mate with an American accent tastes like tree bark, but with an Australian accent it tastes like dirt. Dong. Draw the numeral 5 in a single stroke, bottom to top. Thought it was totally normal until my wife, who is a primary school teacher, saw me do it and looked at me aghast. I do single stroke, but top to bottom. Count stairs and tiles and manipulate the numbers to equal 18. There's 9 stairs, just pretend there's double and count each one as 2. Everything has to equal 18, okay, or it bothers me. Sniffing my food before I eat it, especially chips and other snacks. I find it unsettling how a lot of people don't stop to smell something before eating it. Wiping your butt while standing after you poop. I thought everyone did that until I talked to my girlfriend about pooping habits and she told me she wipes sitting down. Reddit had a huge debate about this years ago. I'm personally versatile lol. I wipe sitting at first and then stand to really get in there. Constantly worrying and ruminating. Literally thought that's normal until I told my ex-girlfriend and best friend. They both said they don't do it. When someone is talking about something and they say a word that's not very familiar to me, I try to spell it in my head and then check later whether it was correct or not. Same. I'll also spell words over and over in my head. I randomly drop things I'm holding. Seems to run only in my family. We even have a word for that, but nobody else I know understand what I'm talking about. I think it's called Parkinson's. I put my hand on my cereal before adding milk so it doesn't raise and risk overflowing on the edges of the bowl. Maybe it's normal, but the one time I did it at a sleepover, a friend looked at me like I just cured cancer. Now I'm just picturing someone pouring milk on the top of their hand and it splashes everywhere. Eat the end piece in the loaf of bread. There isn't anything wrong with it. It's just a piece of bread. No one I know eats the end piece and just throws it out. When my daughter was younger, she would refuse to eat the end pieces because they were gross. So, when making a sandwich, I started turning the bread's end piece facing inwards. She never noticed. Golden birthdays. When I was growing up, it was a huge deal in the family. Golden birthday is when your age matches the birthday. That is, my birthday is on the 11th, so my golden birthday was when I was 11. We got a huge gift and everyone always looked forward to it. I passed it on to my kids, but my wife and now my kids' spouses and everyone else I've talked to have pretty much no idea this ever existed. Both my girls got kittens for their golden birthdays. I've been using the phrase coffee up for about 20 years now. I say it with the same intensity as a Mix-a-Lot in the song My Posse's on Broadway at the end when they say, posse up. So every morning I tell my Cuban mate that, it's time to coffee up, and go about my business. Well, one day my manager said, I'm going to coffee up, as Deep Root says. So I asked, am I the only person that says that? And everyone within earshot said a resounding, yes. Shock and awe. I tell ya, shock and awe. As someone that works in a restaurant that sells a lot of coffee, this is a common expression. Cut my own hair at like 3 AM if I'm stressed or can't sleep cause it's hot. I mean, it seems a fairly rational response, but family and co-workers have since told me that it's unusual behavior. My hair makes my head hot and cutting my hair keeps my hands busy making sure my hair is even if I can't sleep cause I'm stressed. Hi Pedro. I drain instant noodles by draining them then adding the flavor. Apparently this isn't correct and you are supposed to add flavor and not drain at all. I do this too and only use about half the flavor pack. Those occasional chunks of not quite dissolved flavor are always a pleasant surprise. I didn't realize other people got pictures in their mind. I never really have. I thought mind's eye and picture this were figures of speech. Turns out they're not. I didn't realize that there were people who thought in words and not images until I was in college. Not so much anymore, but when I was younger I used to always start walking with my right foot and always take my last step with my left foot. It had to be an even number of steps. I also despise volume controls that work in a number sequence because the volume always has to be on an even number. Used to be that whatever I did with my right side of the body I had to do with my left side of the body or else I felt uneven. I also used to take words, replace them with their number and then add the numericals together. So for instance as would be 1 and 19. A equals 1 and S equals 19. So as is 20. If I came up with a number that wasn't a single digit I would then add said numbers together until it was a single digit. So 11 would turn into 2 and then I would be done. Reminds me that I actually thought it's normal to walk on your toes as a child and did it all the time. Regularly goes 5 to 7 days without pooing. We get stuff done because we don't have to spend nearly as much time trying to pass a week's worth of turds each time we go. Stands back from baggage carousel at the airport until my bag comes around so that others can see and get to their bags. Weird thoughts in my head where I think to myself, if I don't do blank this time, fate will never let blank happen. Examples: if I don't make this shot, fate will never let me be with this girl I like. When I make the shot, I get happy and think to myself it was meant to be and that girl will like me. If I hold my breath for 30 seconds, the girl of my dreams will date me sometime this year. Upon failing the challenge to myself, I get sad because I think fate will never let it happen because I failed it. The list goes on. I'm a weirdo. Pretty sure you just have OCD. Creating some convoluted ruler set for how to walk across sections on the sidewalk and then having people by you asking why you are walking strangely. I knew a guy in high school who wore underwear for a few days before switching to a new pair. He mentioned it offhandedly and was blown away when he was told that it wasn't normal. When my brother started kindergarten, our mom would tell him every day to put on clean underwear. One day he came home from school and she noticed that his butt looked really big. He had been putting the clean underwear on over his dirty underwear and was wearing like 8 pairs at once. I get a serious headache and also heartburns after I've had hot dogs, and this pain usually lasts for a couple of hours. What makes it even worse is the fact that it doesn't put me off. It does sound like you're mildly allergic to some ingredient. You might want to have that checked by a doctor. Imagine a guy running along the road and jumping above obstacles when I'm looking out of the car window. I mentioned it as a everybody does this right thing to friends the other day and they looked at me like a cray cray. Haha, this was all I ever did in a car as a kid. Drink the milk out of the bowl after the cereal is gone. Didn't know this was weird until I did it at a friend's house senior year of high school. I still drink it, but I didn't know it wasn't normal. It just seems wasteful to pour it out. Wasting the cereal milk is a mortal sin and a violation of the Geneva Convention. Speak 2 languages. As a kid growing up in a foreign country, I thought everybody had a language they spoke at home, and one they spoke at school. I also thought everybody had a country they came from, whatever that meant, where all their relatives would magically gather. I grew up with a dad who spoke English and a mom who spoke Mandarin, and they speak in Taiwanese dialect to communicate. So I thought it was a secret adult language they invented so us kids didn't understand what they were saying. All of my elder relatives from Taiwan also speak this dialect. I would always assume they were being crappy about us. Haha, grew up self-absorbed for sure. Oh crap, I actually have a good one. I use 2 Q-tips at the same time in synchronized movements, one on each ear. I discovered that no one else do this when I was doing it on a festival and my now ex-girlfriend starts laughing really hard, like crying. When I asked her why, she told me it was the way I use my Q-tips. Well, I find it comfortable and it's faster. Also, I don't like using the same for both ears. One end for inside and the other end for outside. Freaking Paddington Bear over here. I didn't know being ambidextrous was rare for a long time as a kid. I primarily write with the left hand, so if I'm sitting next to the right of someone, our elbows usually keep bumping into each other. Countless times as a kid I've told people just use your other hand. LOL, I write and eat left-handed and do everything else right-handed. It's strange and I don't know why that's the way I do things, but that's all I have ever known, and I am terrible at writing with my right hand and cannot throw at all with my left. Constantly have a plan of attack defense for if anyone on the street, train, hallway is trying to kill me. In every situation where I'm passing a sketchy stranger, my brain is thinking of how I'm going to counterattack or escape if they turn on me. At train stations I'm the worst. My brain is always trying to convince me someone wants to push me onto the tracks. I had an easy time in school. I never got why studying was a thing. I just read the material in class, then remembered it. My girlfriend only recently pointed out that's not how it works for everyone. I only eat the green part of the watermelon. I don't really like the taste of the red part. It's too sweet. I like the bitter part. Excuse me, what the frick? Constantly imagining random scenarios in my head. I will be sitting in dead silence and start laughing out of nowhere because of my head movies. I thought everyone had intrusive thoughts, violent ones. Apparently they don't, and there's something seriously wrong with me. I get these too. My favorite technique is to think of them as an annoying backseat driver and dismiss the suggestions with sarcasm. Whenever I eat a melon, I individually pick the seeds out in my mouth and sort of peel them and eat the white inside seeds. It feels nice and it's a neat little thing I did as a kid to kill my time when I had nothing to do at a fancy wedding hall or something. Have painful sneezes. I usually sneeze pretty hard and it causes brief pain in my nose and sometimes throat. Occasionally the force of it will also result in a sharp jab of pain in a muscle or two. I thought this was totally normal for people who sneeze forcefully. Only recently found out that it's not normal, according to my family at least. When I was around the childhood ages when I went into my dad's custody for the weekends we would make nachos, but mine would have things like real dried and edible bugs, Parmesan cheese, and pickles. My friends told me that I was insane. Does anyone else do this? If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.